big girl. This video is brought to you by Old Spice Ultra Smooth. Smell like a man that knows what he's talking about, even when you have no idea what he's talking about. This dash is 62.5 inches wide. I'm thinking I can take the wiring harness off. Thing is, I don't like these white gauges. We might take the stepper motor and the speedometer gauge. We'll use the steering wheel and the column, and then still have the wiring harness for the Cat and the Allison standalone between that. I think that makes sense. Does it make sense in your head? All right, guys, we got a good video coming up. I do want to say a little bit before we start. I fixed the fuel tank on this truck. When you're working around fuel tanks, it is dangerous. Be very, very careful. Tons of shops have gone up in flames because somebody's drilling a hole into a fuel tank. The vapors come out, hit the brushes on the drill, and catches everything on fire. Don't do that. I used a drill to put a screw into the tank, and you have to be very, very careful. The drill we used was brushless, and I stopped the leak with the tip of the screw before I screwed it in. So just a quick disclaimer, when you're working around fuel tanks, be careful. I'm going to take this apart. I'm going to disconnect the transmission, and then we're going to send this straight to the machine shop. That's right, we got a King Ranch full interior. All right, I know you guys have been itching for an F350 update, and it's been a while, so we're going to do a quick recap. This was the right truck at the wrong time, which is usually the way projects go. But we bought this out of California, spent 50 hours in it, driving it home with multiple repairs along the way, and brought it home to do a 7.3 Power Stroke swap. While we were at the scrapyard, we saw two 3126s available to us. We said, you know what? These trucks already came with a 7.3. That's kind of boring. Let's put a 3126 Caterpillar in it. So we took two engines, pulled them out of the buses, sent them straight off to Northtown Machine. They're taking the best of both engines, putting them together. So we got a high horsepower, high reliable, well-built machine. We're gonna upgrade it at the same time, making it bulletproof, fixing the HUI system, and everything else that we need to along the way. In the meantime, we've got our Allison 2000 transmission that was a 5-speed that was already bolted up to it. And we thought, you know what, since we built the engine and nothing's gonna go wrong with it, we better bulletproof this at the same time. So we got a hold of Excalibur Transmission. They specialize in the Allison swap. So we are sending this 2000 5-speed to them. This would be considered a 3rd gen, so the early 2000s. They're going to disassemble the whole thing and put all 4th gen internals in it. They're gonna switch the output shaft so that it matches the manual transfer case that we got from our Duramax that was behind a 1000 Allison. And then we will have a driver's side drop transfer case that bolts directly to the transmission, lines up with our Ford front axle, and still is able to incorporate the manual shift that we want to keep on the floor of this F350. Okay, so while Scott is working on the engine and Excalibur's gonna get the transmission, we can budget that in, know exactly what we're kind of gonna expect when those are done. In the meantime, I have been working on the truck, and we need to really try to make these builds as smooth as possible. So when we got the truck, Jose was actually working on a car beside him and accidentally dropped a brake caliper into a pail of brake fluid. It splashed all over the side of this door and made runs in it. But I was able to use leftover Sonax products and a buffing pad, and I was able to buff all of those brake stains right out. Good news, we don't have to paint the door. We do, however, have to paint or do something with the hood because the paint is right off of the hood. Now, I really wanted to keep the original paint only because as soon as there's paint on a vehicle in Southern Ontario, they're like, well, it's all Bondo and crap underneath. So we definitely don't want to paint the bottom. We might do a two-tone with it, either red on the top, white in the middle now that we buffed the door off, or red down below, or a red stripe down the middle. We don't know yet. What I do know is that we do need to paint the back of the cab. I tried buffing the glue off of this. There was a camper up against this, and I think it took the paint right off. This is down to the primer. we've got a little bit of rust here. So making the truck right, I think we need to pull this back window and paint either the roof and the back. Maybe we can stop it right at the seam here, but we'll budget that in as we go. The issue is now all the little fixes that we did along the way home from the road trip are starting to creep up again. So if you can remember, we had to fix the front tank in Jose's driveway. So we lifted up the box, replaced the fuel pump on that, and then got it out of his driveway. We made it to almost to Vegas before it started falling on its face, and that was probably the crappy fuel that was in it. Topped it up, kept going, then the rear tank broke. So we managed to pump the fuel from the rear tank into the front tank. We dropped the tank in an AutoZone parking lot and fixed the rear tank and also the exhaust manifold gaskets in the driveway there. After AutoZone, we stopped off at EP5. We fixed the front brakes, and it actually broke while it was in storage. That's right, it broke in New York while we were in Canada trying to figure out how to get the thing imported with all the proper paperwork. So we actually forgot about all that footage until Old Spice came to us and said, Rich, were you ever under pressure and still needed to smell good? We said yes. We had 1 hour to get the truck fixed, running, and to the border, covered in gas, while still smelling like we knew what we were talking about. Okay, so while the truck was parked here, we got a pinhole leak in the front tank. So the Ford actually broke while we weren't using it. Well, nobody was using it, which means that now we don't have a fuel pump working in the front and the rear tank, and we don't have a tank that can hold fuel in the front tank. So now we can't get the truck home. Very quiet, but fuse is okay. So either we pull the skid plate, and I've got like a self-tapper with a rubber, like a roofing screw, to try and find the pinhole because it's right at the very bottom. Or we try to focus on getting the back tank working. No, that's been patched once before, which is worse. And that's what's leaking. I knew it would be a pinhole, like the tank looks good. So to find the pinhole underneath here is an issue.
It's that old bad fuel, which is our only hope.
I just want to see where the leak is coming from, then we'll grab fresh fuel and put it in here. I see where it's coming from, completely different spot, so we're good to go. Okay, I think that's it. All 209 horsepower drinks that up pretty quick. So.
Hey Rich, it's that time.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's always nice working with companies whose products I already use. I gotta be honest, I've been using Old Spice since high school. Whether I'm screwing around in the shop or rummaging around in an old scrapyard, I smell like a lot of different things, but BO is not gonna be one of them. So as old trucks go, some of the repairs are starting to let us down. Oh, there it is. And the fuel tank is leaking again. So let's go take a look at that. Here we go. Oh, this old raunchy fuel smell is so strong, it's burning my eyes. You know, kind of like Grandpa's old cologne. Luckily, Ultra Smooth has a nice subtle scent. Unlike this deteriorating gas tank, Ultra Smooth is gonna stand up to whatever sweat you're gonna throw at it. Now I know what you're thinking, Rich, I drive a diesel, I don't have to worry about smelly gas. Well, you'll be happy to know that Old Spice complements the smell of diesel on a roadside repair just the same as gas. And since running dyed diesel is illegal, you won't be sweating knowing that Old Spice is dye-free and dermatologist tested. So click the link down below to find out all about the Ultra Smooth collection and exactly where to buy it. And thanks to Old Spice, we can make some additional upgrades like this. Check this out. Woo! That's right, we got a King Ranch full interior with dash, console, door panels, back seats, and front seats. Heated, powered, leather. I love it. So what we're gonna be doing is ripping this interior out. Already Jose put the front seat in the back because it's ripped and worn and whatnot. And the dash is kind of cracked. I broke some stuff. And I don't want to keep this interior. The seat is not that comfortable. It's not bad, I can't lie, but there's no cup holders in this truck. So because of that, I've been on Kijiji, which is Canada's version of Craigslist, on and off a little bit. And the guy listed that full interior for less than one of the seats that we paid for in the Audi. We will actually start by doing this. I might start the wiring before I even rip the truck apart, but we're gonna pull the whole cab apart. Every possible thing to protect this truck as best as we can, make it as quiet as we can. We've got nice exhaust. We're gonna have a proper muffler on it because this is gonna be a long road trip truck. This will be hauling the Audi and maybe that trailer or maybe that trailer, who knows. Okay, so now this is always exciting because every piece that you find is like, yes, I don't have to buy that piece now. Ceiling lights, we've got the rear view mirror, got all the seat belts. Towards the end, it becomes kind of like, oh, I'm missing that piece. So, as for fun, when I was like 16, Hoogie and I we'd just go to junkyards with no intention of buying anything. We just walk through because each one of those cars there has a story. This one, I imagine, was in an accident because I'm missing my right airbag. I'm missing the plate underneath here. I'm missing whatever was underneath the stereo. I gotta look online and see what that was. The hooks that those slide into, and somehow the bottom seat is mounted into something. As far as I can tell, that's the major pieces. So I talked to Andrew. It must have been a good, 6 months ago. Hey Andy, can you hold on to this truck for me just in case I need some parts? What a guy. What a nice guy. That's what we need right there. And down there, somebody buy this glass and this toolbox, this matching toolbox. It's good to go. And this radiator, rad. And if you get this back window, you get this really awesome Wojo outdoors, and give Rich's Drywall and Framing a call. Okay, so I got the big Torx out from the lock there, or the pivot. I need to get that one out, and my Craftsman set doesn't have that particular socket, but luckily I brought the proper tool. Yeah, that's the right Torx. Oh, look at that. Oh, I need two hands. Look at that. No, I didn't even. And I didn't even strip the Torx. Awesome. There we go. And look at that. Oh. $5 toggle switch. Sweet. I kind of like that sliding rail there too. We can maybe put a TV in there, and if it wasn't for all the blood all over it, I'd probably take it. So the trick with these seats is move this thing out of the way, give you a little bit of room, just that one bolt, and then just to the left of that thing, there's like a clip. Some sort of clip. You gotta use some sort of tool. Maybe something like this. Yeah. Two-handed job again. There we go. See that? This little clip right here. That little clip. Just gotta push it. There. You're a GM now. So we got the back seat out, we got these bolts out for just in case this massive bolt doesn't hold it. They put a little self-tapper in here just so you can't steal it. Oh wait, it is loose, never mind. And oh, look at this. Cha-ching! You just gotta wipe the mouse droppings off of that and we can go out for supper. $20. Does that look like it's been swiped before? I don't think so. Sweet. Okay, so you guys have seen me take semi-truck lug nuts off with this gun. We got a 12 amp hour battery on there, but that bolt where it goes into the floor, whatever's holding it is bouncing, and I already broke my ratchet because that's the way life is. And she's not coming. Ford hates me so much. Ah, last one. It's not like this is easy. Sawzall did the trick. Just screwed up that part of the blade. Ah, success. All right, load that up. I just got to take the cover off the dash there. And that's it for now. We'll be back, I'm sure though. It's nicely in the middle of all these vehicles, so I don't think it's gonna go anywhere too soon. Here we go. What's the idea behind all this?
Clear it all out, get all new inventory in.
Sold $30 off it in the last 6 years. And
yeah.
What's wrong with that almost new Ford? No, wait! Those clearance lights are good! Hello? Hey, good. Yeah, I'm just at Tuesdays here watching all your dreams get crushed. Oh, that door handle was good! Ah. Okay, so here's the issue, and this is what keeps me awake at night. I love the King Ranch interior. This dash is 62.5 inches wide, and so is the dash in the F350, so I think that it will bolt right in without modifying anything. Thing is, I don't like these white gauges, never did. Don't like them in the Dodges, and I don't like them in the Fords either. It also has kind of a rounded dash, and I really like the dash of the 450. Now, this is a plain Jane truck. It's got crank windows, it's got manual door locks. So I'm thinking I can take the wiring harness off of this, we'll pull the cab off, we'll take all the oil pressure, coolant, boost, and sensors off of the Power Stroke and stick that into that dash. Now, I love the square look of it. I love the Super Duty on the dash, and I love the gauges. They're all black. So if I can't fit this dash in there and tie it into the console, it's only 1.5 inches wide. It's 64.25, and the other one is 62.5. So it's just too wide. I think I'm gonna try and section out just the driver's piece and stick that in the F150 dash. The colors aren't 100% the same either. So we'll use the steering wheel and the column off of the F150, but none of the wiring. We'll use all the wiring from this except for the speedo. Now the speedometer, I think on our truck gets its signal from the rear differential. I think the F350 might as well, but I do know that the Allison will have a speed sensor on it as well to tell the CAT computer when to shift and torque converter and all that fun stuff. So the CAT came out of the Freightliner, so we might take the stepper motor and the speedometer gauge out of the bus, solder that into the wiring harness of the F450, move those gauges into the dash of the 150, and then still have the wiring harness for the CAT and the Allison standalone between that. Then we'll leave all the lights, the turn signals, all that wiring stock from the F350 that was already in there. I think that makes sense. Okay, so first things we notice is that all the brackets naturally need to be adjusted. This is about 3 inches above the top of the window, but these are 22 inches. The original backrest was only 20 inches. What we need is to be able to sit in the back and not have my head hitting the roof. So for now, we need to drop the seat down at least a good 2 inches. Super comfortable, like really high up, which is kind of nice, but a little bit too high. So if we modify the brackets to drop down 2 inches, then the back seats are kind of where they need to be. Let's grab the front seats. All right, so we need some opinions. We've got a couple options. Column shift off the F450, but we can use the upper half of the steering column from the 150 and make use of this console shifter. The issue is our four-wheel drive selector for a transfer case is right off to the side, and where the handle is right now will kind of get in the way of the console. Although maybe we can slide this over. You know what, we could, depending on where it is, I gotta find exact center. We might not be exact center, and then this will miss it nicely and just get tucked off to the side and almost hidden. We're not gonna go electronic or anything silly like that, just a nice handle down low. And I can bend that out if I really want to. Or if we are going with a column shifter, we can put the four-wheel drive selector down in here. So definitely comment as to what you guys think. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. I knew I had to manufacture the brackets a little bit. We'll weld something up good and solid, and we should be able to bolt it right down. We have to put the dash in before we secure the console, because the height of the console depends on where the dash ends up. If we want to use a Super Duty dash, it doesn't physically fit between these door panels, and if we make the other door panels work, they're even thicker than these ones are. So the only option, I think, is to use the 150 dash, but try to incorporate that nice squarish look and the gauges from the Super Duty. Once I make all my measurements and make sure that the dash does fit and it's gonna work, then I'm gonna start wiring it probably upstairs, incorporating the wiring harness from the Caterpillar, the bus, and the 450 Super Duty, but we got to tear into that too. So coming up next, we will probably be getting into the 450, pulling that dash out and pulling that cab off and taking the wiring harness from the 6.4 and moving some sensors and stuff over. I still got to think this out. So currently this 6.4 is living up to its full potential and being an anchor for a project that you'll see coming up on DeBoss Garage Heavy Duty. If this video is already a couple weeks old, it should be on the channel. We're robbing some parts off of this, and we're debating on what you guys think if we should take this bumper and put that on our OBS. We've seen a couple of them and they don't look bad. And I kind of like the look. We did hit it right here. That's not a problem. We can bend that right back again. So definitely comment down below as to whether keep the OBS because we want to keep it like factory pure looking, keep the purists happy, or if we should just go all out resto modding it. This big giant hole could maybe allow for a winch or a light bar. You gotta have a light bar. Looks kind of ugly on this truck, but I think it was just for airflow. Maybe the air is supposed to keep it colder and not grenade, but it grenaded anyway. This one's got 140,000 K on it, so for you Americans, not quite 100,000 miles, and this one was in the scrapyard. Our original door panels actually match the colors of the dash and the console really nicely, and this door panel is actually 3 inches shorter than ours. Also has the hump for the window and the mirror bracket there that we don't have. What we could do is take the top half off and make a little seam here. This is where the dash would stick out, I guess. But I have my doubts whether this is worth screwing around with or not. It's gonna be so much work to make this work, and this actually looks pretty decent. So we're gonna put the dash in, but if you've got any suggestions, or if somebody's done this before, or if you know of longer door panels, or what we could do, then definitely comment down below. But for now, we're likely not gonna use the door panels, but we are gonna use the dash, and then these will be on sale on eBay. I love these cup holders. It says remove for American size. Which is like, it's like my fist in there. Not to like remove for cleaning, it's like remove for, who drinks that much?